Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness. Come journey with us exploring the meaningfulness of astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
This is Talk Cosmos on the 18th of January. Still Capricorn because today is the full new moon. Yes, Sue. And it's at that late degree of 28 degrees, which it has been since for 5 months. Incredible. It really accentuates in the cosmic energies happening that are asking us to find our meaning in life. That's our focus for today. Viktor Frankl wrote one of the 10 most influential books for United States, Man's Search for Meaning. For me, that's really what it's all about. I have a 9th house Gemini sun with other planets, and I'm always looking, what's the belief system? What's the focus? What's the patterns? How does this put together? What's the truth of it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my guest today, Courtney Goldstein, has read this book, as it turns out, every year for some time. And I am thrilled to be able to talk to somebody that has integrated so much of it and can reveal so much as we talk. Now, we will begin with a few current cosmic energies, just to tell you why and how this is appealing to our spiritual conquest moving forward as we develop into the person, the wholeness of ourselves. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and we shall begin.
Talk Cosmos engages unique events during the 3rd and 4th weeks of the month, featuring a myriad of new and returning guests. Joining host and founder Sue Rose Minahan, they co-create to explore and contemplate a wide spectrum of potent subjects. Embark on today's topic within our panorama of guests and insights as we welcome the astrologers for this conversation.
Hi, there you are. Hello, Courtney.
Hi, Sue. It's so nice to see you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for including me on your show.
Yes, indeed. And you answer exactly what I wanted, because I've opened up 20 different slots this year just for the creation of discovery and as the universe wants me to continue. And having our conversation that here I'd read this book and that you read it all the time was like, thank you, universe. Thank you, Courtney. So very good. Well, I'll talk a little bit about yourself. Courtney Goldstein. Her Substack is one way to connect with her. She's at Love Courtney, along with her new website. It's a updated website that she's just currently still working with, but there is a contact on it. So until that happens, it takes time to get a new website or revising one. I know I'm contemplating mine too, but that's at lovecourtney.com. And myself, Sue Minahan. So Courtney is an evolutionary astrologer like myself, yet she is in her last part of certification with the Stephen Forrest School, which is a wonderful school. It's a 3-year term. So it's very exciting. I'm glad you're at that point. A long-term intuitive healer and spiritual teacher over many years with a huge word-of-mouth base of clientele that come to her. And I guess that's it, really, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect way to explain it.
And myself, I'm Talk Cosmos evolutionary astrologer consultant since 2018. We're in our 8th year, our 9th season. So this is very exciting. And I'm studying vibrational astrology, which I try to tweak in once in a while. And the dwarf planets also, which will be next week with Melissa. Let's talk a little bit about Viktor Frankl, because he's like our 3rd member here. Yes, he wrote the book. And another Aries.
Yeah, what a powerful man who I think changed literature in a way. I mean, he changed what it means I think did you know the story that he actually didn't want to put his name on the book? He wrote it
Yes.
anonymous at first. I
Yes.
thought that was really interesting. And then he realized he had to use his name.
Yeah. I think in a way that is part of his 3 business that people have when they've been so imprisoned, when you're totally not allowed to have your identity. The final one is like animals that won't walk out of the cage. You know, it's like, I can't be me. Is it really okay to be me? And then finally realizing, no, to be you is the only way to be. And essentially that's what's happening right now with all of us. It's like we can't pretend that we have a role in something that maybe works with our pay job or whatever, but who is us? Who is us?
Who are we? Who are we is the question I always ask myself when you wake up. Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Who
are
I?
we?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It's
So he was
to think about that. That would be very hard for him to then see himself as a name after so many years or so much time of being a number and having everything stripped from him. So yeah, that's an interesting thought of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and how scary that must be.
It is. And also to be separate of the group where your whole context was your relationships with the people there. And so he was a neurologist, a psychiatrist, and of course a philosopher. And he wrote 37 books. This is incredible. And his bestseller was Man's Search for Meaning, which
is what we're reading.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm holding my book because everyone should read this book. I think every human being should read this book once in their lifetime.
It's incredible. He also brings up the fact that I was just briefly opening it up, that they had art. He says, have I talked about art? And they had a cabaret there that they tried to, I don't remember the full story of it, but they did manage to have some.
Well, I think what's interesting is that you said that you were remembering the nice part of it, right? That they found some peace amongst they would give up their meal actually to do it. Like, I think it was very rare, but you remember they had to give up their meal. It would be like that they didn't have their meal and they went to the cabaret, they exchanged.
Yes, because it was the same hour. Yeah, and the little food they had was zilch, maybe a small piece of bread or something. So it was a major deal, but yet it was so important. So his premise, which I absolutely love, is the meaning of life right here is found in every moment of living. It's our attitude that makes the difference. You know, is it full? Is it empty? But more than that life never ceases to have meaning through suffering and death, because often he'd say that they could clock off the people that found hope with a certain thing. Oh, I'll be released and blah, blah. And it would not happen. And they would be so disappointed, so distraught.
I was thinking about that with astrology, because I have a really hard time with prediction astrology, because let's say what he said if someone gives them hope and said a date, and then all of a sudden that day came and that they weren't free, it would hurt them so much. And so
because they had nothing more to
astrology.
Like,
people say, oh, this is going to happen that day. And then if you believe that and you're reaching for that moment, and then that moment comes and you don't have it, I thought about that would be interesting. Like, there is something interesting about that. Be careful with putting specific dates and hoping, because then when we get to the date, we could they lost all hope when they want to know when. They want to know when, and humans want to know when. That's why they come to astrologers. Like, when's this going to happen? And we could kind of see, but you have to
absolutely. And I think this is so important all across the board. As they say with any spiritual development that you have, to allow the form to find it. In other words, you have the intention, you have the feeling, you know how you're attaching your meaningfulness, yet the form changes. So in other words, with astrology, rather than, I too am not somebody that pinpoints. Like, we know that's we will come across pretty quickly, the chart of February 20th that has the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. Yet things don't happen just that day, and that uncertainty is really something to embrace, to realize that, to allow life to be new and to come forward.
Yeah, and to have faith and trust. I mean, his was the worst situation possible, right? One of the worst situations ever. And to have hope, we need hope. I think that is probably why you're having this show on this day, in this moment, on the brand new moon, is how do we hope, even when things don't look the way we want them to look, but how do you continue to have hope?
I just realized, for those people that may not be totally aware of who Viktor Frankl was, he was a Holocaust survivor in World War II. He emerged from concentration camps. And so choosing our attitude was really our ultimate truth. And today, with the Capricorn new moon that you're mentioning, this is a chart for folks to look at, because Venus right there, if nothing else, right next to Pluto in Aquarius, is really looking about how are our values and relationships growing and changing with our responsibilities, and particularly with us compared to the community. And what is a community? It's really a push-pull, figuring stuff out. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking how much it's true. It's a push-pull in the community, but you go back to like, what mountain, if you think about Capricorn, right? What mountain are you climbing, and is it the right mountain? And if you're not climbing the right mountain, you'll be pretty depressed. So there is something about making sure you're climbing the right mountain. And then all those planets are going to go into Aquarius. It's kind of exciting, right? You can see the broader picture of life, but you better make sure you're climbing the right mountain. I think that's that your life has meaning, and it doesn't have to be big meaning, right? We're talking about this book, but small little things mean something, just that someone cares about you, right? That you do something for somebody else, or right. I think aren't you very kind to your husband and am I right?
Well, our relationships are so important. And that's a big part of what he was saying, is that because it changes us from victimhood, like, why is this happening to me? Let's say if you're in a matter of suffering or working through something, to really being the victor within. I mean, kind of his first name, Viktor, victorious. Something. Yeah,
you're right. And
because it is, to find meaning is caring for others and holding on to some purpose. Like, what is the purpose? It's not just an event of liberation of something, of taking it away, but rather, what's the purpose that we can find some beauty or some throughout it. Yeah, because here too, look at how, just for today, Mercury and Mars are right smack dab together. So we're energizing our thought pattern, connected with how the whole thing is coordinated, like a recipe, adding to this process that we're in this new moment of putting form.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, and
what you're responsible for, and what your purpose is, right? And there's like this authority, right? Like you are the authority of your life, and so your mind really matters. But I like
taking accountability, because that's so true. Because ultimately, if we want any difference in our life, we have to look back at ourselves. What was our thinking? What were our choices? Where is our part in this, rather than pointing and projecting out? Let's look a little bit at this second one, and then we can get away for a few minutes till our break, because we'll take 1.5 hours, folks. So stay with us. But this, in February 20th, is absolutely an enormous event that when I went back into my solar fire, because I've read other accounts of when the last time Saturn and Neptune were at 0 degrees, it gave me 4,361 BC. Now that's before the wheel and before writing. The wheel was in Mayan, the Mayans, and writing was with Babylonia and the Sumerians. This is such a shift in consciousness that preempted everything, that we don't know where we're headed. So really knowing the facts doesn't matter except the process. And the process is having something to find purposeful. What has meaning?
Yeah. And what you're putting meaning to. Like, this is really extraordinary. Thank you so much for looking. I don't really know how to do research like that on solar fire. So so thank you so much for researching that. That's pretty amazing, right? Just to think about how we can't predict what's going to happen because we've never had this experience before. Or that we would remember.
Exactly.
So there's something about knowing that it's a brand new era or era.
Yeah.
How do you want to go walking in it, right? I think of it, Aries, of that you're the hero of your story. Just like he was the hero of his story. At the end of the day, he survived. I mean, it's all a story about survival.
Back then, because Aries is about identity, self is the first sign. And at that time, the Ice Age had ended, and humanity, I like to use the word humanity rather than mankind or wokind or whatever, but humanity was shifting into agriculture. And therefore it formed the roots of being able to do writing and communication and whatnot. And now, and it happened to be at 0 degrees 3 minutes. So it really was at the Aries point, because this Aries point is at 0:45 minutes. And meaning that these huge cycles, the software will go back in solar fire back to 5,000 BC, I believe, and 5,000 AD. So you can search there. I'll show you later how to do that.
I would love that
technique. But the point being that it's consciousness. So are we really moving into consciousness of our identity as ourself accountable with the community, with the whole, and beyond? Like, what's our communication? Communication is, if before it was writing, perhaps now it's more spiritual. It's more ESP. Hello, Courtney. Are you thinking of me? Yes.
Well, I mean, I thought I talked to the angels. So I think that there is so much more than we see. So
yes, exactly.
And how do we know that we're not? Well, I think if you go back to the book, there's something about what you said. So if you go back to the book, a lot of his belief system was, how do you believe that there's something more than meets the eye, per se? So you said ESP, but so I think that's an interesting thought, right? There's more than meets the eye. And how do you, in this darkness of life and how everything is not looking right, how do you have connection to spirit, right? So I think consciousness, I don't think everyone's going to become conscious. I think that takes a lot of work to become conscious.
Oh, it's a huge path. And even so, wherever we are, there's always, as they say, onion peelings to do, or else opening of leaves of the lotus. However you look at it, it's huge. I think what I'll do here is just, Nate, I could type it, but you take away our slides for a sec. Okay. And then we have about 10 minutes. We can yak it up here and follow through with, yes, the book. How is the book, his faith, that faith, because it's small little things that I can detect, like just accepting that if you go back to Kabbalah, which is the Jewish mysticism back below in time line, 1%, we only see 1. And science is beginning to say that too. There's so much, like the universe is not the void. It's really filled with vibrations that we're unable to detect. So and any metaphysical sages will say often, it's how to follow that instinctive connection. And this is so Aries, because if something catches a title of a book, a billboard, a conversation, a person, it's part of the message of life. All these stories of age will say, well, I gave you 3 people in your tent and you didn't welcome any one of them. That was me. It's the same idea. Like, Are you listening? Because we're expecting the form to be what we think it is.
Yeah. Well, because are you saying it like this, that because we already think we know what's going to happen, things happen the way it's going to happen. But if we were radically that today is a brand new day and that anything's possible, we could experience life in a whole different way. Is that what you're saying?
Beautiful. You're beautiful. Great transcription. Yes.
Well, no, because it is true. I mean, but it's hard, right? It was so funny. The other day, I had a headache before I went to sleep, and I woke up and I was like, wait, did I have a headache? Do I have a headache? And I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have a memory of yesterday and we could only be presently present today? And then we would have no problems, because we only have problems in the past and we only have problems in the future. We don't have any, right this second, we have no problems, right this moment. People don't have problems. It's their own worries.
I thought about originally also working on that, realizing about children, that take a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, whomever, but a young child, and they fall and get hurt their knee, and they've got blood there. I mean, nothing serious, but it hurts, and they're wounded and they're crying, and then it scabs over and they forget about it. It's gone. It never existed. Or take a friend of theirs, they're angry with them and they have an argument, or a sibling. Hopefully at some point they manage to make up and start anew. So I do believe there is this business of realizing, instead of hanging on to injuries, and it is a matter of, I think, going back to Viktor Frankl, of instead of feeling the victim, like why is this happening to me? But yet realizing that your relationship is larger. If you can't even bring in spirit, at least it's a relationship with life around you. The people or something that you're working with, or some purpose that's special to you.
Well, it's so interesting because I actually just reread the book. It's a very quick book, but everybody, it literally takes you not even a day. You could pick it up, you could read it in a couple hours. It's the kind of book that you can read in a very short period of time. And it made me think of what you just said, is that at the end, you get to choose. You could choose to be the victim and stay hurt, and you get to choose to just be so angry. So you think about that Piscean energy, and what Pisces energy is forgiveness. And so imagine if you could forgive completely and forgive people, like those children you said, because they're not holding it on. It's a new day and I'll play with them. It doesn't matter that they hit me yesterday or they left me out. It's just a story, right? And so, yeah, then that Pisces energy is about forgiving. And then you get to choose if you're going to go be brave and live, or you're going to be very angry. And he showed that in the book. And I do think that that's what this whole experience of this progression is. Are you going to choose to forgive people, like you said, and forget what it was, or are you going to hold on to that? And I think if you do hold on to it, you're going to remain very angry and you'll remain the victim. And my hope is that no one does. And he didn't. I mean, he went on to have a successful life and he ended up having a career, but a lot of people didn't. They got to choose. A lot of people chose to be angry. So I love what you said about the child. It's a great metaphor for that leader going into
not really. And I want to add, because I've read this of other times, not to blame, to realize that our evolution as souls, it's really ultimately impossible, I feel, to recognize just what we need to experience in life. Perhaps those people found by really living through their anger involved with it, because I would think it would be hard to, we're able to morph it or work with it. So in their next lifetime, because I do believe we have next lifetimes, folks, thank you, it shifted, because unless you experience and go through something, that's what's so important, instead of getting, and maybe that was with that in their lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I do think we have these choices, and however it works, however you live it is perfect. But we're becoming conscious, and if you're listening to this, then obviously you're a conscious soul, And so it's possible to forgive people. So I love that. I love that you use the child energy, just because it's so true. And we could learn so much from children.
Yep.
Animals too, right? There was something about animals in that idea.
The cage, yes. In fact, I'm just reading some notes here, so pardon folks if I'm looking down a little bit, because and this is actually, this part I think is in Wikipedia, but he says that the psychological reaction of the inmates to their liberation. So any of us, if we've realized that our traditional conditioned thinking is conditioning, because we have the opportunity, like in hypnotherapy, you have the opportunity to wash the slate clean and introduce new ideas. Granted, this takes time. And I think, Courtney, you reading the book soon is because you've read it before. I found I had to stop and kind of contemplate a little bit and then move on with it. But still, it is a good, quick read. So he has 3 stages of this reaction when you get liberated from something physically, and then how do you deal with it? That the first is depersonalization. It's readjustment, where you gradually return to the world. At first, you're so numb, you don't really know what freedom is, whether you look at a flower or responding to it, because they think it's a dream or it goes away from you. So I wonder, just to recognize that is important in people's brains, to realize that what you envision can be, right? It can be. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I think that was so interesting, because he does say that about at the end of the book. He talks about that they thought that once they were free, that they would feel free. And it took a long time for them to feel free, because they've been in a cage. Literally, they've lost their freedom. But then what I thought was interesting during the book, you're in the book, and there are these moments where he learns to just appreciate where he's at and seeing the flowers and seeing the grass, and it gives him hope. It's in all the darkness. Can you see through the cracks, bring light? And so I thought that was really interesting, because then all of a sudden they thought they would just be happy when they were free, and they weren't. It was like they had to relearn how to be okay, because they had been so used to not. They're like, "So are you happy?" And they're like,
you know what reminds me of this, Courtney? And then we're going to take a little break, because it's at that time. Because when it's like as though you were in a dark area, like unfortunately those people that were in the tunnels over there in Gaza, and that unfortunate situation that we're all aware of between these 2 wonderful countries, but that their eyes had to adjust to the light. And in a sense, it's the same way, whether it's internal or whether it's exterior. When you see something, it's like your senses are adjusting to really witnessing and accepting the reality for what it is. And the beauty about a flower, I've thought about that, is it stays in its form long enough to see a beauty. It's not like a sunset that drifts off and it's gone, but a flower, is there. Shall we take a little getaway and we'll come right back? Okay, folks, come back. We'll be here with Courtney Goldstein. Yeah, and we'll keep talking about the meaning, putting purpose to life. Okay, thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the furthest visible planet by the eye. By leaving a cycle based on meaningfulness and truth, Capricorn's energy establishes social boundaries in a structure incorporating rules, authority, and ethics. As a cardinal earth sign depicted by a sea goat climbing from the sea up to the top of a mountain, Capricorn overcomes fears through goals and ambitions to achieve mastery.
This is psychological astrologer Dr. Laura Todd. Please join me, Michelle Fleming, and Edja Caleb February 21st through the 28th for Evolutionary Training's annual Goddess Awakening Retreat. and Playa El Coco, Nicaragua. Enjoy daily yoga, well-being workshops, melt classes, baby sea turtles, and more. To register, go to mythicsky.com.
Talk Cosmos ignites insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click their like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. You can listen to earlier podcasts since 2018, either on most podcast carriers or under the video tab on Talk Cosmos YouTube. To join our expedition and find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com and launch your week into the cosmic wonder.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to newprosupplements.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, February 1st, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We'll check in with Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, and Beth and Merritt Clifton from animals24-7.org. Plus, we'll find out about all the great classes and events coming up at the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga. Hope you can join us. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Bored with the other stations, hammering away on the same old talking points? Try Alternative Talk 1150 and get some variety.
And at the hour, I always give some focus to our guest and myself. Courtney Goldstein, to remind you, lives in Florida, southern part. I'm over in Hawaii. And her Substack is at Love Courtney. And her website is it's lovecourtney.com. Launching soon, relaunching, I should say. Yeah. And Courtney and I are actually also in the Kepler Astrology Toastmaster Club, which is an ongoing wonderful site for those people that are interested. It's learning and developing our speaking abilities, which seems to be its own kernel. Myself, Talk Cosmos, and my YouTube channel at Talk Cosmos. Briefly speaking here, there are several pertinent videos that you might want to check. One is about the winter solstice, which is vibrational, and the message is there, which is also more of a conversational terms. I'm really focusing more on conversation this year, trying to find the meaningfulness of things. It's just something I've been dreaming about and started Talk Cosmos about, and now is doing it. And yeah, and then of course the Capricorn Venus Star Point, which is another point that's going to be with us throughout this time. And next week will be a little bit about Ixion, the lawless planet to be. So thank you. We will take that away. I will. Okay. Courtney, I was checking the book a little bit, and a few thoughts were his emphasis on food. How much that the famished prisoner, it really destroyed the soul, the mental, capacity and soul of a person. And awakening every morning was really the worst part of the day to get through. That unless you were there, in some terms, it's almost hard to imagine. So I am working to imagine this and to realize that. And what I'm getting at is that food. Yes, the body requires nourishment, and so does our soul, because he was saying that despite all, that two topics were big, the cultural and there in the culture that they had. One was politics and the other was religion, that people could and did deepen their spirituality. So they nourished themselves, I suppose, that way. You have to. It's not just. But the dichotomy here, I'll leave it at that for your thoughts.
Well, I think what's interesting is just the amount of surrendering one has to do. So what is spirituality? I always think about that, right? What does it mean? I think most people don't really find spirituality until they go through something that's so traumatic that they have to literally go down to God and say, God, please, I surrender. I mean, you just think of that Pisces energy that we're in right now, right? And it's right. Just to wake up and not eat food, we can't imagine. We can't imagine what it's like. I mean, this is a man who they walked in and you were told to go which line, whether you would be alive or dead. And I mean, I think is one, what was it? 1 out of 10 people would live. And out of the trains, 1 out of every 100 pretty much lives. So the chances of living and then to wake up and not, I mean, we take it for granted how much food we just have. I was thinking about that. We have so much, and yet here we complain so much.
It is true. Yeah, the
really
abundance.
Heartbreaking. It's a little heartbreaking when you think about because we have so much more than any other generations ever had. We've had there's no one starving.
Well,
there's no one in this country starving.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know with that, I feel. However, because I know here in Hawaii, a huge number of people need food support. And so
they get food, but we live in a place where
no, granted, I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to make I'm just a little hesitant. But the fact is, what you've inspired in me is the idea of gratitude. Gratitude is huge, and the abundance. And the next is that we can't, because through gratitude, we'll make a choice that we can act on those feelings of, if we feel like it's in our part to be of service and sharing, because to feel badly in itself doesn't really effectively help anybody. Like someone said, if you have a broken leg and I break my leg, we're both working around on crutches and not doing anybody any good. So in other words, recognizing, yes, the abundance and all of that. But I think the extremity of any example, which his book really does present from our modern thinking in this country, at least for most of us, is just the truth of what becomes out of it. And what becomes out of it is, like he said, the choice of attitude and the fact that you can deepen your relationship with the unknown, whether you call it God or not. Because myself, I was not, I confess, raised to think of God, but yet I did, by surrendering, that point is perfect. Because at some point you give up your attachments to what you're open to receiving through a new template, a new construct of relationships, and gratitude certainly helps along with it, being grateful for something. I know that there was a very unfortunate person, unhappy and crying, whatever it was, early in the morning. It was such a difficult time. His shoes had shrunk, he couldn't get his feet into them. And of course it was snowing outside. Sorry to upset people if you're visual and you see all this like I do, but he had to feel better. So he took a little piece of bread, a little crumb, and ate it, nourished himself.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting in that moment. Well, okay, I read this to everybody. Good. This is one of my things that I read, and I have a little card that I actually bought because I was at the store. I'm like, this is my favorite quote. So I was like, okay. But it's, we who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedom, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance, to choose one's way. And I will say that I think with Uranus going into Gemini, it is all our decision of what we're going to choose, and our choices will define our lives. And I think the idea of appreciation that you said, and gratitude, I think it's the only way, because we could all see what's wrong in life, or we could see what's working. And I don't know. I think about this a lot. If we have two hands, we're so lucky. Imagine if you went through the day and you didn't have a hand. So you have these hands you don't even appreciate. So, and there are people that don't have hands. And I'm sorry, if you don't have a hand, maybe you have a foot. But what do you have versus what you don't have? And I think when we can use that, I think we get more. I actually know it. I mean, I have proof.
It does.
I have proof. I work with a lot of people. I teach this. Your life can change You just get to choose. You get to choose if you want it to change.
And the breadcrumbs to it is one thing and the next. And I say breadcrumbs, I'm thinking of Hansel and Gretel, although that went to the, but to the wolf and that. But nonetheless, it is the small step and the sense of choice is yours to make. And repeating really in my brain what already spoken, but in other words, realizing the deconditioning to realize it, the buck stops here, the responsibility, the center is within, and making those choices. So I love the idea going into the astrology of it, of these outer planets. They're all coordinating. It's true. It's going to bring in new circumstances that are sudden every day with Uranus. It's the awakener. And whether it's communicating.
I mean, they're trining. They're all wanting to work together to help each other. We're really in this moment that they're helping each other. Like you could have help from above, as within, so without, right? But yet it's not, there's something about, there's help to be had, but you have to surrender to it. You have to allow it. He says that three things. So the whole point is that in order to have a meaning in life, you have to know your why, which is very ninth house Sagittarius, right? What's your why? So, and with three things that he said give meaning to our life is work, love, and courage. And I think this is a moment in time where courage, I mean, we're being asked to have courage.
Yes, we are, especially with Aries, because Mars, won't this be fascinating? I thought, is that Mars always is a kicker in life. Yet we tend to look at this or that often. I mean, there's some people that really always focus on Mars, but this is riveted right to Mars because whatever Mars is doing is going to be kickstarting that Aries energy 100%. Yeah. So that means actions and the world evolving, because that's what we know. We're not the same as the ice age. We've come and gone with floods. We've come and gone with ice ages, et cetera, over the 5.5 billion years that I think we've been in existence. But the fact is there was always an incremental action, a change. Something adapts to something. So Mars is, in a sense, the pedal, the gas.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of, and the universe pushes you. And so you're going to either, I like that. And I like the idea of the breadcrumbs. I think that's a beautiful metaphor of just one breadcrumb at a time. And you just, how do you move forward? It's a nice analogy. I have to go read that. I love fairy tales. So I'm going to go read Hansel and Gretel again.
Did you ever see In the Woods?
I mean, that was my favorite show on Broadway. Like it was on Broadway for about a minute you know who was in it is, who's the girl who was Miss America and then got canceled?
I don't know. Names are like out of my book, out of my story. But I understand. It was on Netflix for a little bit.
I didn't see the movie maybe, but I did see it on Broadway.
It is a fascinating, and for those folks that don't know what In the Woods is, because I saw it on stage and then on Netflix, because it's a movie, it coordinates about 5 different fairy tales, and you're literally in the woods, and they all go in there, and it's a new definition of them and the survivors, and it's fascinating. So why did I bring that up? In the Woods. What did you say?
Hansel and Gretel. I said I like fairy tales.
Yes.
It's Vanessa Williams.
It reforms. It recreates that story where, because as we know, she gets eaten by the wolf, but instead here, I think she bops him on the head. She does him in.
Well, yeah, it doesn't at the end, Hansel and Gretel, they stay alive, right? I mean, they come out of the house.
Oh, yeah, they come out. That's true, too. Yeah.
But the book, let's go back to like Aries and energy and Mars, and it's all survival. Like, are you going to survive? Hansel and Gretel survived, right? I mean, didn't she try to put them in the oven? I don't really remember the story, but it goes back to they survived. These 2 children
thrive because they become. I think Taurus is more survival. That initiation of Aries is becoming, is that spark that sees instinctively fire. I'm going in that direction. There's fuel. I can be energized through this. And so it becomes more, and the identity becomes more.
Well, okay, but it is survival. Aries is survival. I'm a very big Aries energy person. So it is kind of survival, because when you're first born and you need to be fed, you have to scream. Yes, Taurus is very much survival. It's about safety and survival and going. But if you think about Aries, the baby's born, screams out loud, the anger and the energy out loud, is asking for what it needs. So there is this very much, yes, it's about the identity of the I, but who am I? I mean, who are
Well,
we?
I was thinking because it's self, first house self, and that's often how it is. And it is true. One sign moves with the next and the one before. So it's like, where are we going and where are we coming? We're a story. Yes, indeed. So we can't really isolate out. And I would agree.
But I do think,
of course, it is about survival in that sense.
But
I agree
war,
with you, because
war.
you're looking for that identity to survive. It's like, I am alive. I am, and I'm going to not just whatever I am wants to experience life.
I love that. I love what you just said, because who I am and who I say I am is who I become. So the I am really matters. It's
becoming.
I am. So who do you want to be? I am, but you're becoming who you say you are. So I am, right? Imagine that. Go back to the book, because imagine if tomorrow they took away your name. Imagine if they took away your hair. Imagine if they took away your shoes. I mean,
your clothes.
Holocaust Museum in Richmond, Virginia, and I will never forget it. Piles and piles of shoes, and just seeing their shoes. We don't even, I mean, and if you had nice shoes, they took your shoes, because, and so they piles, they were like the actual shoes from the Holocaust. People could say that's not true. It's true. They were the shoes, and your piles, and you're thinking, could you imagine? We have shoes, and okay, I'm going to say most people have shoes, right?
It's walk in somebody's, right? That idea about walk in your shoes or your path. So what you're saying is akin to that, like recognizing the shoes is almost like walking in their experience of and the shift of their experience of not having that path being eradicated.
Like their self-esteem, right? So who are you if you're not, like, I think we just went through this whole Piscean time, and maybe things could be taken from us, but nothing could really be, everything could be taken from us, but how we choose to react. I mean, you go back to his brilliance. It's like, I don't know. I love.
No, it's very true. And it's also the value, with the Venus, like, and that's where this Venus Star Point in Capricorn right now is helping us anchor, I think, and whether it's climbing that mountain or however we interpret Capricorn, because I know in vibrational astrology, Saturn, which rules it, is seen as discovering what is essential and fundamental. So it is so true. Going back to, I'm trying to think of what the courage that you're talking about and the becoming of ourself. And the beauty of Aries is that it doesn't rest on one factor. It's like a fire, it moves, it goes ahead. So I've often been told, understanding as Aries, which I have Aries North Node myself, that you take on an experience, and this is, I'm leading towards where we're going for the next whatever, especially in the next 14 years with Neptune in Aries, but one experience, and then it may work, it may satisfy a certain part, and whatever, we then morph and it leads us in another direction. It's like finding that pioneer path across the hills and the mountains and the valleys and the lakes and the oceans, or even outer space, however you go, under the water, I don't care, to get where you're going. It's not it's a path that evolves organically.
Yeah, by the choices you make or the steps you take. But I love that, like that like Aries is intuitive. It's the right people at the right time, and taking. You said something earlier, like there's 3 people in a room, and are you going to see those people, right? You said something earlier. I think it was about Kabbalah, but something about just appreciating
1%. that we're 1%.
Yeah, but seeing
what we
the
see.
opportunities, there's also, and then jumping on them. I mean, that quick kind of say yes, right? That's how we found each other. You
That's
said, oh, would you
beautiful.
like to look at the book and do the book? And we
Yeah.
just said yes. And remember there was a book called like, Let's Say Yes. So
that's very intriguing. I know that what we feel is what, if we're working with the universe, what the universe understands we want. Meaning that by reframing how we feel about something, going into our thought pattern, is talking a dialogue that attracts more of what we want. It's a, how conscious can we be at every moment? But it is that mindfulness, that recognition, that whole process that we're talking about. Granted, but it does lead me, somehow all that leads. Oh my goodness. Well, we have ahead of us excitement. I think the fact that the nodes are still at North Node Pisces until next summer, we have that ability to think of the unity of our connections. And
there was something in the book he said, it was like towards the end, and he said something which made me think about that North Node Pisces. It was so beautiful. It was at the end of the book, and he says something about groups. And we have this idea of like, because at the end, when they get let out, there were, as surprising as it was, there were people that were, I guess, the prison guards that were behaved, and they were as good as they could be. Like the guy had gotten medicine for them.
Yes.
So to not see our separation, that there are good people, even when we could easily say that those were bad people, right?
Yes.
Easily say there's bad people. And so did you watch that? That's actually a movie. Is that Stanford? Did you ever see that? The Stanford experiment?
Oh, I'm not sure. I could have, but I want to jump on what you just said, because he said it works exactly both ways, because within that, there would be prisoners that would be given certain abilities to be like the guards. They had a name for it, and they could be the worst of all, and they were one of your own. And so, and whereas in contrast, as you said, there was a guard that really had the heart to care and paid out of his own money and smuggled in this medicine that people needed and allowed them to go to the cabaret and etc. And so it's very true. We need to be open as to the hearts of those that go around us. And it's communication, going back to Uranus in Gemini, because Mercury too is going to be, those personal planets are the game changers with the outer planets. Mercury is going to be with Uranus. Mars is going to be with Neptune and Saturn. And right now we have the moon with Jupiter, and then it'll go to the sun in the summer. So there you go. Now, where's Venus? Right now we have Venus in Capricorn.
No, Venus just went into SA.
I know, but the Venus Star Point, I'm big with the Venus Star Points, the 5 Pentacles, which is a whole different conversation, which I've been, yes.
I'm interested in that too. So,
goody. We'll have another
I will say this
conversation.
before, I think we're running out of time, but I think that since he's the genius here, and Venus, actually the planet of Venus just went into Aquarius, and just seeing the word genius, it said, those who have a why to live, like those who have a why to live. So the purpose that those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow.
Oh, Courtney, this is ending just like we began. Perfecto, mademoiselle. I thank you.
I thank you so much for sharing time with me. I love talking to you. It's so fun.
Yeah, well, we will talk about Venus Star Points. I've been eager. We've spoken with Louise Eddington, who, of course, is a practitioner and all of that. But I think there's other ideas that would be just fun to explore. So we will. And folks, have strength. Be courageous in your own hearts of how it works. And know that this is a voice we don't know, but yet knowing that helps a little. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this vibrant and insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests awaken consciousness by connecting heart and soul consciousness patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.